Got her.
She is gorgeous. That's my dream girl.
Yeah. She is. She is hot. Is she in that James Bond film? Is that it?
She was in The Inspector.
She is good looking. Wow.
The guy she was married to, I never liked anyway.
Who's that? What's his name?
I don't know. He was in that. He played in Ocean's 13. He played the guy who was like the weasel.
Okay. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Whew.
I'm partial to those dark-haired, dark-skinned women, man. I love some Italian women.
Yeah.
When I was in Italy, I must have fell in love 5 or 6 times a day.
How's your holiday season going?
You know, Frank, it's going. It's going. I'm not.
Big party guy?
No, I'm not. One of the best parts of not being married is that I don't have to attend all of these events with my wife.
The forced march through the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn down the sound on this.
Hey, we're almost there. 204.
Yep. Yep. So I'll go over here and I will get ready to start playing my music.
Hey, have you heard anything about CPAC this year? They're going to do one in the Washington area?
Florida.
It is only Florida this year.
Florida.
When is that supposed to be?
Sometimes early next year.
Okay.
That's what I understand.
Are you going to go?
I don't know. Yeah, if it's here in Florida, yeah, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'll go. You know, I think it's going to be in the Orlando area. So I'm getting ready to start our music. 5.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that black boy over there running scared? His old man in a bottle. He done quit in 95. He drink full time and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared? His old man got a problem, and it's a bad one. He ain't done pawned off damn near everything. His old woman away to beg for pardon. And don't you think it's a crime when time after time after time people in the bottom, there's people living in the bottom.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay, welcome to The Reality Check with Charles Butler here at Red State Talk Radio, as well as Blacks and Whites .us, and we are streaming live, and we're also broadcasting live out there on YouTube on my YouTube channel. Have with me today, my good friend Frank Benuccio. We're going to kick it, chop it up, turn it around, and enlighten you, our audience, about what's really going on out here in America. Hey, Frank, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Charles, it's great to be with you.
Hey, did you hear or did you see what Robert Wright had claimed that socialism will kill? He made this statement and people kind of ran with it. I got a tweet today from one of my friends talking about this thing that Robert Wright had written, and it was interesting. I don't know if you saw it or not. He was making a claim that that somehow a cable company told their employees if they left early during a hurricane that they would lose their jobs. And he said it was allegedly reported, so he didn't, really, commit to it. But I gave this notice from Santita Jackson, which is, for those of you who don't know Santita, she's Jesse Jackson's daughter, very good friend of mine, loves Santita to death. Very nice woman. And what I'm trying to do right now is to quote this exactly so that I'm not paraphrasing. And it's very hard to get back to these things.
Well, you are the blessing.
Oops, I'm sorry. So look, that's what he said. And I wrote in response to that he would not let a good crisis go to waste, much like Rahm Emanuel, and that they're blaming Democrats, Republicans for killing, and capitalism for killing people. And I think that my response was quite apropos. So what I'll do, if you don't mind, I will read this to you in the audience real quick. I said, he says, as a tornado approached, workers at a Kentucky candle factory were reportedly told if they leave, they'd be fired if they left their shifts early. The factory was level, 8 people died. Corporations will literally let you die to make a buck. Never forget that. He goes on to say corporate greed isn't just out of control, it's downright deadly. And my reply was this. Like most establishment Democrats, Bob Rich is exploiting a crisis, a la or AKA Rahm Emanuel, embellishing a horrible decision of one company to demonize the capitalist system, knowing full well this incident is not reflective of the most successful system in the world for upward mobility for individuals. Historically and to date, Democrats in the North and South strategically denied and made inaccessible Black integration into the American economic mainstream. Democrats have assaulted every attempt to generate Black economic parity by diluting the race issue with diversity, meaning to include everyone except a straight white male. Black economic development is not an agenda item for the Democratic Party. It has been abysmally absent as they stated, as they started implementing social programs and economic disenfranchisement in the 1970s, all the while using the capitalistic system to enrich themselves, family, and friends. What do you think, Frank?
Well, let's go back to a common tactic the left has used. They will take a system that is maybe 90% good and 10% problematic, and only look at the 10% problematic if it's in America. On the other hand, if you look at this, Russia or China or Iran or Cuba, if it's 90% bad and 10% good, they will only talk about that 10% that's good. So it's a common tactic. And, this isn't anything new. It always goes back to the 1930s when Goebbels, who was the propaganda minister for the Nazi Party, would say, if you tell a lie big enough and loud enough and often enough, people will start to take it for the truth. With a media that is so in the tank for the hard left in the United States, that's the tactic that they're constantly using. Now, I want to talk a bit what you said in the opening about keeping Black out of the mainstreams of economic America. After the end of officially recognized segregation and after the implementation of voting rights in the 1960s, you and I have discussed this often. You would have expected that the Blacks would become just like the Italians, the Jews, the Irish, everyone before, would move right into the middle class of the United States and up. Why didn't that happen? That happened because policies implemented by the left and the Democratic Party in particular made sure that, and I'll be very blunt, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone, that Blacks stayed on the Democrat left plantation. Because if Blacks moved into the middle class, if Blacks moved into the mainstream of American society, that would ruin the party for the Democrats. They would not have that guaranteed block of voters to guarantee their reelection time and time again, despite the fact that they put down the progress of the Black community.
Well,
That's the story that no one seems to want to touch with a 10-foot pole these days.
yeah, but the real story here is, Frank, and let's deal with that. That's a great segue. The real issue is if you look from 1940 to 1960, Black Americans, half of Black America left poverty levels and entered the middle class. Now, you have to understand that 1960 was the election of John F. Kennedy.
Mhm.
1960 was the year that Daddy King, with his dumb ass, said, anybody who helps my son get out of jail, I'm going to give him my vote. Not understanding that Nixon was a friend of the Negro. JFK didn't know any Negroes and did not care about the Negro issue, did not even care about the Negroes in Massachusetts, in Roxbury, who were being brutalized by police officers. He did not care. When he met with Jackie Robinson in 1960 to ask for his vote and his support, Jackie Robinson said after he left this guy that the guy is weak, the guy is hypocritical, you can't trust him. Jackie Robinson had all these negatives to say about JFK, who Black activists like Harry Belafonte with his socialist self. See, Harry Belafonte is a socialist, nothing but. And when I recognized that, Frank, that Harry Belafonte was a socialist, I went back and started researching who was around Dr. King, because Harry Belafonte was very close to Dr. King. He was like a brother to Dr. King. And his promise was that he would take care of Dr. King's family if anything happened. So when I started researching these people around Dr. King and the socialism, I saw the socialism in the civil rights movement, in that, you know, it was all of this we without other people putting in, without everybody earning their fair share or pulling their part of the wagon. You know, I as a boy, I had to pull my part of the wagon. I had to be obedient. I had to be smart. I had to be well behaved. I had to be articulate in public because I represented what? The Negro race. When I got on an airplane as a 14-year-old boy, it was like I was in a zoo. Everybody was just looking. And then when I got my food, everybody turned around and looked at me like I was some animal or something. And I had to deal with this, you know, all my life. I've had to deal with this kind of nonsense. And so to see these people today who play into the stereotypes, the racial stereotypes, negative stereotypes of you know, the hair looking like pickaninnies, speaking ignorant, like if you speak proper English, you talk too white. Well, what is speaking Black? It's not being ignorant. Dr. King didn't speak ignorant. He didn't speak like Jesse Jackson. Jesse was the original rapper, my friend.
I've never quite heard that, but I could see where you're going with it. Look, during the 1960s, one of the reasons I think that the civil rights movement didn't move faster than it did was that there were numerous attempts to co-opt it into other causes.
Yeah.
You know, it became part of the anti-war movement for Vietnam. Martin Luther King was seen associating not just, by the way, with socialists, but with communists as well. And that became a real problem. And again, that slowed down the progress of the movement.
Well,
so it's a valid point.
You have to remember when Dr. King was killed in 1968, J. Edgar Hoover had labeled him the most dangerous man in America. Now we've come full circle where he has a holiday and he's revered as being this moral person, when in reality, Martin Luther King had a lot of moral flaws. He was a womanizer. He smoked cigarettes. He drank. I mean, he's just human. But we try to put him on this pedestal that doesn't exist in reality for him or anyone else in the movement. And as you said, the movement was co-opted, but you have to remember something, Frank, and that is that Dr. King said that liberals left the civil rights movement and abandoned the civil rights movement in 1964. So King was left floundering from 64 to 68, trying to find his footing. He found his footing in what? The Poor People's March. So now we expand from civil rights for middle-class Blacks, because that's what the civil rights movement was about. It was about middle-class and working-class Blacks being able to live in America without shadow and structure of Jim Crow and the specter of Jim Crow and violence. That's what the civil rights movement was about. It was not about poor, ignorant, backwards people. And so since 68 and Dr. King's death, it's all the black society. And if you look at anything about black people today, they're always talking about ghetto people. They never talk about the black middle class. They never talk about these beautiful people that you see on these advertisements that live in nice homes and have nice grills and have pools in their backyard. It's always about the ignorant, the rat infested, the drug infested areas of Black America, all the while ignoring the same conditions that exist in white America and now Latina America.
Interestingly enough, there is a section in New York City, well, there's several sections actually, in Harlem, in the South Bronx, and particularly a place called Co-op City in Bronx, New York.
Where's that?
It's in the northern part of the Bronx. It borders between Westchester County and Bronx County in New York State. Okay. And it actually is a major housing development. Originally, it was settled by folks with Jewish background, and then eventually they moved out, and Blacks moving from the South moved in. Okay. And what was interesting, and it goes directly to your point, I had the privilege of knowing a lot of folks who live there, and they would say that a lot of parts of what the Democrats are doing, what the civil rights movement was doing, was talking exactly about that, about the poor. What it didn't do was anything for Black entrepreneurs. And let me give a specific example. Folks who moved from the South, in many cases to places like New York, were entrepreneurs when they were in the South. They owned businesses. They ran, establishments. When they came to the North, Chicago, New York City, places like that, many wanted to do the same thing, but faced a number of racist roadblocks. They found that the civil rights movement never addressed those issues. They would address poverty type issues, but not the real baseline function of moving into businesses and running businesses.
Let's do this. That's a good point. I was talking about this morning with someone. You have Indians from India who can come to this country, get off of a plane, and in 90 days have an SBA loan for a damn hotel. They're not even citizens. 90 damn days. Okay. You have Koreans who come here. They open up beauty supply shops in our community, in Black community. Why don't they open them up in the Korean community? Why can't Blacks open up beauty supply shops in the Black community? Why can't Blacks open up mom and pop grocery stores in the Black? Because they can't get the product. They can't get the supplies.
And as an aside, by the way, the engineer on my own radio program, bright guy, graduated from college with a degree in computer science, finds that he is basically priced out of the market by immigrants from overseas willing to work for about half the wages that he would expect to get, particularly to pay back his college loans. And that's a salient point. And I think it goes to domestic workers throughout, Black or white.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
And by the way, that also informs a lot of what the Democrats do in the open borders to the South. You wonder why corporate leaders who you would assume to be capitalist, Republican, conservative types wind up contributing a hell of a lot to the left. It's because those guys on the left are giving them super cheap labor, which prices Americans out of the market.
But Trump was all over that. See, they had somebody to take Trump out. Trump was all over that,
which is why he didn't get the corporate donations.
So let's back up a minute. When you look at Silicon Valley, why are engineering functions, and why do we have all these Indians over here from India, and you have people like Zuckerberg talking about Americans can't do this work? I want to say, stupid, you're an American. And by the way, stupid, Facebook, you stole. By the way, you're not a bright boy. You stole Facebook and had to pay the original creators of Facebook millions of dollars in a lawsuit. See, but these people like Zuckerberg, and who's the other guy over at Twitter? Jack
Dorsey.
These are people who are not patriots. These are people who know that when they testify before a Senate hearing, they sit there and they look all nonchalant and they go, dude, your check's in the mail. Why are you hassling me? You go get your donation. So, and that's the way they kind of play these guys. It's like, you're not gonna do away with 230. You're not gonna do away with it. Because I'll cut off your campaign donation. Same way with China. The reason they didn't want Trump in is because Trump wasn't beholding to China.
Right.
Trump wasn't beholding to Russia. Trump was already a millionaire. All of those stooges in Congress right now, what they did, Frank, you remember when they got caught doing insider trading and getting rich. That was a big thing. And then they cooled off for about 6 months, and then they reinstated that it wasn't against the rules to trade on insider trading.
To take a specific example, Congress did every day what Martha Stewart went to jail for. Remember the famous case, Martha Stewart went to jail for insider trading?
Of course.
And she later said, it's fascinating. Congress does this every single day, a lot worse than I've ever done. And yet it's fine for them.
Oh, yeah. No question. But, again, it's the horse. It's the cart leading the horse. And these people think that they're above the law. Look at Hillary Clinton. But Frank, this is what I want to ask you, because I know you'll get a kick out of this. Hillary was reading her acceptance speech if she had won. What is wrong with this person? She said, this is a speech I would have read if I had won. Hey, it's over. You're not Golda Meir. You're not Angela Merkel. You're not Maggie Thatcher. You don't have the presence of none of those women. As a matter of fact, I remember, Hillary, you were crying that the boys are picking on me. I could not imagine Iron Pants Maggie Thatcher saying, oh, the boys are picking on me and crying. Shut up.
The problem we have with analyzing Hillary Clinton is that we do it from a political perspective. I think you really need a whole team of psychiatrists to do that analysis. That's the real issue.
You may, Frank, but her sitting there crying, man, it tickled me so bad. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing. I went to YouTube and I had to play it again. I couldn't come up with any sympathy
of all the worst of all the offenses she's committed. I mean, we can talk about the fact that she destroyed evidence which would land anybody else in jail. We can talk about she profited from the sale of the basic ingredient of the atomic bomb, uranium, to the Russians. But on a personal basis, the one that I think is the most offensive, I had the opportunity, I think you did too, to interview the guys who were the security team, some of the guys who were the survivors, the security team at Benghazi. And they had mentioned on numerous occasions, they had begged Hillary Clinton to increase security at Benghazi. And she said, basically, no, forget about it, not going to happen. No one in the press, except for guys like you and I, ever brought that up against Hillary Clinton. The press totally swept it under the rug.
But the thing was, there was an insult. Remember, they sent to that area, to Libya, a gay diplomat, and his concern to Hillary was that he would be killed in Libya. And she assured him that they would protect he and his partner. Now, you know what you never hear about? You never heard from his partner. I heard about him once or twice, and then you never heard from this guy again.
Nor did you hear about the aftermath when General Ham, who was in charge of that area of the world, was rather ungraciously and strangely taken out of the charge of that area. Look,
he was head of AFRICOR. He was head of AFRICOM.
AFRICOM. Now, you don't have to be a geographic genius to look at a map and know where the fighters were stationed. Know that the fighter bombers could have taken this thing out at its inception. We were told, I mean, the lies that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama told us, oh, there were no American forces within striking distance in the region. Then you look at a map and you see they were all there. That's what General Ham
was
curious about.
Wait a minute. Well, of course he was. But wait a minute. I have a friend who's a 3-star admiral who spent a great deal of time in commanding ships in and out of the Mediterranean Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, 3-star admiral, bad guy, black guy, just cream of the crop. When that came up, he and I got in a big argument. And I said, Dave, you know, like I know, there were assets at Sigonilla. There were assets at Arviaro who could have gotten to Libya, stayed on station and loitered for 30 minutes or more, helped those guys out, and went back. And the pilot said the same thing. I interviewed a couple of pilots after they got out that said the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not even counting the aircraft carriers that were not so far from the region either.
But if you got land-based aircraft, skip the carriers. You got guys who were there who could have gotten there in 45 minutes, stayed on station 30 minutes, scraping and blowing up things and giving those guys some. But what they thought was that they would be overrun and there'd be nobody to tell the story.
Yeah, it was. And there are two separate offenses here. One is the failure to come to the aid of an ambassador. That was one. But second, the outright lies that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama said with a straight face to the American public, particularly, by the way, the lies they repeated at the solemn ceremony where the bodies were brought back. And with those bodies right there in front of them, they lied to the American public about all of this, and they have not been called to task for it.
Okay, well, Frank, I want you to comment on this before we go. Chris Wallace leaving Fox for CNN. What do you think?
Hey, it's the first case I've ever seen of a rat jumping on a sinking ship.
Oh, that was good.
That
was good.
That's an amazing thing. Chris Wallace never was a fit. But I think CNN is desperately looking for some signs of credibility. I think they assume that getting someone from Fox gave them more of a bipartisan air, and it just might. But nevertheless, CNN, I think, from the Russian collusion right to the COVID and right on to now with the economic problems we're having, has lost credibility. I don't think there's much they can do to get it back.
Well, CNN is losing ratings, no question. But Chris Wallace is not going to pull over. I don't like Chris Wallace. I didn't watch him on Fox, let alone watching him on CNN.
Yeah, I thought that basically his whole shtick, if you want to use that phrase, was just criticizing whoever was in front of him with kind of sophomoric explanations.
He's
so
not
I don't
his
think.
daddy.
Say again?
He was not his daddy.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. So I don't think
he was not a Mike Wallace at all.
Right. Absolutely correct.
But that was a good analogy, man, of a rat jumping onto a sinking ship.
It's all yours.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Frank, it's 2:30. I know you got to go. I want to get you out of here on time. So thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate you, man.
Great being with you, Charles. Look forward to next week.
Okay, sir. Take care. Okay, we're going to take a little break, a little pause for the calls, get a little coffee, and we will be right back.
This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White, and this message is for the 200 million of you who have taken the COVID-19 shots. If you haven't taken the shot, don't waste your time. I'll get to you later. We need boosters because of the effectiveness of your original shot is deteriorating. The CDC tells us that you can get the Delta virus even with the original shot, and perhaps even with the third. You have to decide to get the third shot. It's your call. Think about this right now. While you're listening to this message, about 6% of Americans that have the vaccine are getting sick. You could be next. The CDC believes a low immune system may be the cause. So even if you get the third shot, you need to protect yourself and strengthen your immune system immediately. I have a great all-natural way to do this. Go to blacksandwhites.us website and click on the CV Acute bottle to have it on hand. If you wake up with flu symptoms, take CV Acute 3 times a day for 3 days and you're done. Don't wait until you get sick to buy this great tested product. It could be too late. Buy it now. Have it on standby. Go to blacksandwhites.us and buy it now. Arm yourself to fight off this virus. Do it now.
Okay, we're back. Let's talk a little bit about voting rights and the network of attorneys who are supposed to be fighting against voting rights. I don't know about that, but we'll see here in a minute. So let's get into this story. And by the way, there are over 100 people who are unaccounted for in Kentucky right now, and 74 dead. The toll keeps going up. My heart goes out to them. My prayers are with them. God bless them. I tell you, it's sad. I'm saddened by it. Hey, look, a powerful network of conservative election lawyers and groups with links to Donald Trump has spent millions of dollars promoting new and what some consider onerous voting laws that many battleground states such as Georgia and Texas have enacted. I don't think they're onerous, and I don't think they're draconian, and I don't think they're new. I think that they are traditional laws and that people need to follow. You don't need same-day registration. How do you prove the person is who the person says they are if they haven't gone and registered before? They go, in this particular article says, and this is in The Guardian, the UK paper, it says, the moves have prompted election and voting rights watchdogs in the US to warn about the suppression of non-white voters aimed at providing Republicans an edge in the incoming elections. Well, let me have shed a little light on that statement. Non-white voters, i.e. Black voters, i.e. Latino voters, are moving to the Republican candidates, not to the party necessarily, but to candidates. They're voting their damn interests, and they're tired of you taking their money, and they're tired of you dipping into their pocketbook. Democrats, where you have a president who is so out of touch with the people, he says, well, if you have a $600 transaction, we're going to look at that. Who the hell are you? Joe Biden, help me. Who the hell are you? So this article goes on to say that that lawyers and groups spearheading self-professed election integrity measures include some figures who pushed Donald Trump's baseless claims of fraud in the 2020 elections. Well, they weren't baseless. The courts would not take the cases. They went to the court. No, it didn't go to the court. The evidence was never presented to the courts because the courts wouldn't accept their cases. Key advocates include Clinton Mitchell with the Conservative Partnership Institute, J. Christian Adams of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, and Von Praskovsky of the Heritage Foundation, Jason Sneed of the Honest Election Project, and Kenneth Blackwell with the America First Policy Institute. These conservative outfits tout their goal in curbing significant voter fraud. Yeah, and they really do. Voter fraud has always been part of the Democrat legacy. In Chicago, the rule is vote early, vote often. Vote early, vote often on election day. Vote early, vote often. So a veteran conservative lawyer, Mitchell, boasts that the highest profile has sparked most scrutiny. She took part in the January 2nd call where Trump prodded Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find about 11,780 votes to overturn Joe Biden's victory there. And he should have, but he didn't because he was a punk. He was a coward. Wow, amazing. This is truly amazing. So, Trump's people are on it, man. I love it. We got to be on it because those Democrats stole the election, and they'll do it again if we don't stop them. Now, that candle factory story that I talked about earlier, that Bob Wright was talking about, they said night shift employees report managers took roll call as the tornado bore down to be sure no one left without permission. Ooh. Workers at a Kentucky candle factory have said that they pleaded with managers to be allowed to leave as the deadly tornado barreled towards them last weekend, but they were told they would be fired if they left their posts. The barrage of tornadoes that tore through Kentucky and surrounding states killed a dozen children, including, excuse me, a 2-month-old infant. Governor Andy Beshear said Tuesday, a total of 74 people have died thus far in Kentucky, with the oldest victim at 98 years old. 8 people have yet to be identified. More than 18,000 homes were destroyed without power on Tuesday. Wow, that's today. Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, said the storms produced the strongest set of tornadoes that we have ever seen in Kentucky, and what we believe will probably go down as being one of the most devastating tornado events in U.S. history. The fatalities include 8 at the candle factory in Mayfield, Kentucky, that was reduced to rubble. Deaths at the candle factory were initially feared to be much higher, but a company spokesman said on Monday that the remaining 102 workers on duty at the time are alive and accounted for. Multiple employees of the Mayfair Consumer Products Factory told NBC News they took shelter in bathrooms and hallways when they heard the tornado warning sirens. Then supervisors ordered them back to work when they mistakenly assumed the danger had passed. Wow. I asked to leave. They told me I'd be fired, said Elijah Thompson, who was 20, claiming he was among a group of about 15 concerned colleagues who were refused permission to evacuate. Well, why would you want to go out into that storm? They may have been under more duress and in harm's way going out to the storm at that point. Even with the weather like this, you're still going to fire me, he said. He asked his manager, and his manager said yes, adding that bosses took roll call to find out if anyone had left. Wow. The factory workers claim cast even a darker shadow on other events of the evening, according to NBC, citing another night shift worker, their 3 or 4 hour lull between the first alarm sounding and the arrival of the tornado that leveled the building. Time in which she said 110 workers should have been sent home but weren't. Wow, she's right. I can't argue with that. Haley Kelly Conter, 29, was one of a number of employees who approached 3 managers. Again, about 9 p.m., sound alarm a second time. You can't leave. You can't leave. You have to stay here. The situation was bad. Everyone was uncomfortable. Wow. Michaela Emery, she's 21. She was interviewed from her hospital bed. She said she overheard a group receiving a similar answer earlier in the evening. People had questioned if they could leave to go home. And Emery, who said she wanted to stay to earn overtime pay, if you leave, you're more than likely to be fired. She said they were told. I heard that with my own ears. Wow. It's absolutely untrue. We had a policy in place since COVID began. The employees can leave anytime they want to leave, and they can come back the next day, said Bob Ferguson, a company spokesman. He lying. Ferguson said managers had not told employees that leaving their shifts meant risking their jobs. He lying. And that they had followed FEMA and OSHA guidelines. He lying. So Governor Beshear told reporters that the Kentucky division of OSHA would undertake a months-long investigation at the deaths at the factory. The governor said that such interviews are done whenever workers are killed on the jobs. Man, this is deep. This is deep, bro. So people are going to pay. People are going to pay, and it's too bad that these people had to go through this and endure the deaths and the danger. Amazing. Amazing. Hey, look, we're going to take a little break and make sure we get you informed. We'll be right back.
This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White, and this message is for the 200 million of you who have taken the COVID-19 shots. If you haven't taken the shot, don't waste your time. I'll get to you later. We need boosters because of the effectiveness of your original shot is deteriorating. The CDC tells us that you can get the Delta virus even with the original shot, and perhaps even with the third. You have to decide to get the third shot. It's your call. Think about this right now. While you're listening to this message, about 6% of Americans that have the vaccine are getting sick. You could be next. The CDC believes a low immune system may be the cause. So even if you get the third shot, you need to protect yourself and strengthen your immune system immediately. I have a great all-natural way to do this. Go to blacksandwhites.us website and click on the CV Acute bottle to have it on hand. If you wake up with flu symptoms, take CV Acute 3 times a day for 3 days and you're done. Don't wait until you get sick to buy this great tested product. It could be too late. Buy it now. Have it on standby. Go to blacksandwhites.us and buy it now. Arm yourself to fight off this virus. Do it now.
They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists. It's that basic, it's that simple. The past 4 years, we've had a president who's made his contempt for our democracy, our Constitution, the rule of law clear in everything he has done. They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists. It's that basic, it's that simple. The past 4 years, we've had a president who's made his contempt for our democracy, our Constitution, the rule of law clear in everything he has done.
Hi, this is Charles Butler, the host of the radio show, The Reality Check with Charles Butler. At Asset Benefits, we provide our clients with the rates and benefits from over 20 top-rated life insurance companies. We make you informed decision makers about final expense, mortgage protection, and securing your family's financial stability with the loss of a loved one. Hey, Okay. Okay, we're back. And I was just looking at a story on the bottom, Richard. Blames crime. Oh, man, we're going to deal with that in a minute, Jan Psaki. It's amazing. There was a sailor who was charged in starting the fire that destroyed the bottom Richard. And the bottom Richard was an amphibious assault ship. And they said that this young man, his name was Ryan Sawyer, he dropped out of SEAL training, and he was disgruntled about being assigned to the assault ship. That ship burned for 5 days. They couldn't put it out. They said the defense attorneys said, well, you know, they're accusing him of this because they found lighters in his belongings. Well, you know, everybody has a lighter aboard ship. I used to smoke when I was in the Navy, so I always had lighters, Zippos, as a matter of fact. That's not why they got him. They got him because they did an investigation and came up with this dude as the guy who was responsible for starting the fire. We'll see. I don't think that they would have charged him if he wasn't culpable. So we'll see. Let's see here. I'm looking at the DC paper, and I was looking at Jan Psaki talk about the smash and grab is due to the pandemic. No, it's due to folks not protecting their belongings. That's what this is all about. Smash and grab. In fact, I'm gonna have a guy on later this week talking about smash and grab, what that means. They said, you know, Saki says, well, it's the, I'm sorry for laughing, but Saki said it's the pandemic that causes the smash and grab. No. Nope. But I tell you one thing, it's dangerous. These people are dangerous. I don't know what to say about it. All I can tell you is I am so glad that I'm not there. I'm so glad that I don't have to put up with that nonsense. I mean, because that's exactly what it is. It's dangerous. I don't know why these young people think that they can smash and grab and get away with anything, and that somehow they're not going to be repercussions or danger, or they won't be shot in the process of looting or I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. And what if these stores started hiring security guards who actually fought back and fired shots as they were robbing stores? How many innocent people would get shot? You think? How many innocent people would get hurt? Wow. It's amazing. But, they don't think about that. They don't put a lot of credibility on that. They don't think, one, that we understand what they're doing. They think that, this lawlessness is somehow acceptable to Black people, acceptable to the people it may be acceptable to the people who are doing it, parents, moms and dads. It's not acceptable to the Black community. And nobody's spoken out about it. Where's Jesse on Smash and Grab? Where's Al Sharpton on Smash and Grab? Where are these guys on Smash and Grab? Where are these guys on Black Lives Matter that don't really concern Black Lives Matter? So when asked about Smash and Grab, Saki says to Peter Ducey from Fox, I would say that when the president proposed additional funding in his budget over the funding that had been proposed by the prior president to increase and support local police departments and make sure we keep cops on the beat. She don't know what she's talking about. Does the president still think that crime is up because of the pandemic? Ducey asked her. She says, well, I think many people have conveyed that also one of the root causes of crime in these communities is guns and gun violence. And we've spent that statistically, we've seen that. Shut the hell up. She lying her ass off. Then Ducey says, so when a huge group of criminals organizes themselves and they want to go to loot a store, CVS or Nordstrom's or Home Depot, until the shelves are clean, do you think that's because of pandemic? Poised Ducey. And she says, I think the root cause of a lot of communities is the pandemic. Yes, she lying. There's no, you can't correlate those two. The pandemic and looting of CVS's and Nordstrom's and on Michigan Avenue and places like that. It doesn't work. Nearly 2 weeks ago, about 80 people raided a San Francisco Nordstrom's department store and drove off in 24 cars with up to $200,000 in goods. Los Angeles, a band of 20 thieves stormed into a LA Nordstrom and ran out with only $5,000 worth of items. Wow. Then they went into another Nordstrom. So North is being targeted. Let's get serious. Get serious. These guards need to be trained and get it on. Now, Camilla Harris, they're showing Camilla. She's trying to charge a car. She's having one hell of a time putting the charging stick into the portal on the car. It seems you think she would have practiced it before she tried to do it in front of the cameras. because she was busted. I was laughing my butt off. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up, man. You cannot make this stuff up. It is too funny. And when you look at it, you go, wait a minute. You did what? When? And they just, they just try to play it off like it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Let's see here. Oh boy. You won't believe this. So I'm not even going to deal with de Blasio and his mandates. But what I do want to do, I hope they have Harris up here trying to charge his car. I'm going to try to put this up for you. Harris charges car. Let's see if that's up yet. Yeah, it's up. Hold on. You folks have to see this. You have to see this. It is incredible. I'm telling you. I laughed so hard. I laughed my butt off because she was so serious about, putting this, okay, where's my share? Doesn't look like I can share my screen. All of a sudden, my screen, let's see, mute my audio, my background, edit picture. Nope, none of that. Okay. Where is my, come on, guys. Yeah, here we go. All right. Nope, that's not it. What the heck? I don't know why this thing won't stop that. And I'll go here. Come on here. What I'm trying to do, folks, is to show you Miss Harris. Let's see, zoom. Here we go, zoom. And I want to, am I going to join? It's in progress, right? Cool. So let me in. Hoo-hoo. No, don't want to stop it. Don't want to exit. Don't want to hide it. But see, I got this little small screen and it won't let me share the video with you, which ticks me off. Shoot. We'll do it tomorrow, though. I promise. And I'll have it all teed up. Poor Camilla. She was trying to put the plug in. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Poor girl. Anyway, we have bigger fish to fry. We have other things to do. Hey, but we got that piece done on Wright and the candle factory. That was really, really sad. Really sad. I hope that they get to the bottom of these people management not allowing the people to leave the plant. They need to get to the bottom of that. And they need to get to the bottom of it soon, not later, but soon. People are in the hospital. People got killed because they couldn't go home. I mean, it's sad. It's really sad. So as I get ready to wind down and get out of here, I just want to talk about Chicago a little bit. Okay. So a man was beaten to death while stringing Christmas lights with his young daughter in Gage Park. Now, Gage Park's a pretty nice area. But this guy, Hispanic guy, beat to death for what? I don't think he was a gang member. Doesn't allude that he was a gang member. It says here the attack happened at 6:30 Saturday, 6:30 at night, 58th Street. I know exactly where that is. And the police have not released the descriptions of the attackers. And this man was out with his daughter hanging lights and got beat. They say a neighbor tending to her own decorations suddenly heard the girl scream. Rushing across the street, she saw Talise on the ground bleeding from the head and still holding lights in his hand. His daughter was by his side crying out, my dad, he's hurt. I told her to get a blanket to put on his head. There was a lot of blood. This is sad. This is so sad. Keep his daughter calm. Wow. He wasn't moving, but he was still breathing, and he was put in an ambulance. He was taken to the hospital where he died about 5 hours later. The attack by two people at 6:30. Police have not released the description of these guys. I hope they get them. I hope they get the electric chair. You got to bring back the death penalty for people who have killed folks. He was they said he was a loving husband, father, brother, son. Daily Castro's on a fundraising page. Wow. Wow. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it was gang related. It doesn't appear to be. He was just out putting his Christmas decorations up. Wow. It's amazing. So yesterday, one person was killed. Two were wounded in Chicago in gunfire. Yes, ma'am. That's living in Chicago. It is tough. Let's be clear. So you have to be aware of your surroundings. Be aware a man was shot walking out of a Jewel-Osco. He fought with another man who had a concealed carry license. And let's see if the guy got shot. It says a man shot and seriously wounded outside a Jewel-Osco as he fought with another man who had a concealed carry license. Wow. Now, why were they fighting? It said that the older man pulled a gun and opened fire, hitting the younger man in the head. The older man suffered injuries to his hand, was taken to the hospital. They would not say if it was a gunshot wound or not, but they saw the two men fighting at the entrance to the store. Just shows he shouldn't have a gun. I don't know about that. At the scene, workers moved around the parking lot collecting carts. Wow. It's amazing. Who knows? You know, the old guy couldn't handle a young guy, pull out the gun, equalizer. But you know, you shouldn't be fighting it when you're armed. That's all I can say. I wouldn't want to be. But this guy stringing Christmas lights getting shot. How crazy is that? You know, you can't even go outside and hang Christmas lights without somebody pulling. But, you know, the week before I did the story on how these 4 Black women were robbed in Washington Park who were decorating Christmas trees and decorating homes as a charitable event. Hey, look, we're going to get out of here. This is Charles Butler signing off Red State Talk Radio. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have the mayor of Orland Park talking about how he stopped gun violence and gun crime. Okay, folks. Yeah, we're going to talk about how he, the mayor of Orland Park, stopped gun violence, gun crime. So tune in tomorrow. We'll be here doing our thing. Okay. Thanks again. Take care.